Great to have you join us today on this edition of Business Daily. In Seoul, I'm Lee Ji-yoon. Let's get started with a quick look at today's highlights. Amid the ongoing crisis surrounding Korea's Hanjin shipping, experts say this is only the beginning for global shipping lines as they face continual overcapacity. And the replacement process begins for Samsung as people here in Korea can now swap their Galaxy Note 7 devices with new ones at no extra cost. These stories and more coming right up. And to tell us more about last week and this week's stock market action, we have our Business Daily's markets contributor, Choi Jin-seok, joining us on the phone today. Hello, Jin-seok.
Good afternoon, Jin.
All right, let's get started by looking at the Korean stock market. We had a short trading week because of the Chuseok holiday last week. Tell us how things went.
Right. On Tuesday, the Kospi market rose by 0.4% to close at 1999.36, while the Kosdaq surged by 1.1% to surpass 660. The Kospi index stayed above 2,000 in most hours during the session, rising to as high as 2013. However, continuous selling pressure from institutional investors dragged down the index below 2,000 again. The amount of shares institutions unloaded was larger than the total amount of shares bought by retail and foreign investors. On a weekly basis, the Kospi sank by 1.89% due to the 2% correction on Monday. One of the positive things about last week's market was that most sectors that took the biggest hits on Monday recovered on the following day. For example, tech shares surged more than 3% on Tuesday, led by Samsung Electronics, which experienced a 4% rise after falling sharply in the previous session.
Then how did the Korean stock market close on the first day of this week?
The Korean equity market finished strong on the first session of the week, helped by individual investors who bought massive amounts of shares. The Kospi rose by 0.8% to close at 2015, while the Kosdaq surged by 0.9% as well. Sectors were mixed, while tech shares led the way with Samsung Electronics, which experienced a rally for 2 consecutive sessions. Today, foreign investors joined retail investors to continue their buying spree for 2 days in a row. In the longer term, foreigners bought shares of listed Korean companies for 3 consecutive months as well. The Financial Supervisory Service, or the FSS, said on Monday, foreigners purchased a net 1.85 trillion Korean won or $1.64 billion US dollars worth of stocks in August. The value stood at 467.6 trillion Korean won as of the end of the month, accounting for 30.5% of the total market capitalization. The amount is only 3.2 trillion Korean won short of the all-time high of 470.8 trillion Korean won recorded in April last year.
And since the Korean equity market resumes trading after the long Chuseok holiday, it seems that investors will be more likely to experience market volatility this week, right?
Exactly, and that's why most experts do not expect the market to rebound sharply this week. First, there's pressure throughout the market to go higher ahead of the September Federal Open Market Committee, or FOMC, scheduled for Tuesday and Wednesday local time. Experts believe the Fed will keep its interest rate at the September meeting, but 8 out of 10 Fed officials who have voting rights still signaled a rate hike within this year. In other words, if strong signals of a December rate hike come out from the September meeting, market volatility may intensify. That's why investors should brace for sudden ups and downs in global financial markets and closely look at what words come out from the Fed statement and from Fed Chair Janet Yellen. The fact that the U.S. stock market fluctuated during our Chuseok holidays can be another reason to expect more volatility. The U.S. market saw a lot of swings last week as expectations of an imminent rate hike changed and oil prices remain volatile.
Now, along with the FOMC, the Bank of Japan policy meeting is drawing a great deal of attention from investors. What's the outlook on that so far?
As usual, it seems very difficult to predict the BOJ's future path. Just over half of economists surveyed by Bloomberg between September 7 and 12 forecast an expansion of monetary stimulus at this week's meeting. Others point to November, December, and next year. And a small minority still expect no change in the foreseeable future. As we are getting closer to the meeting, expectations for additional stimulus measures are actually fading. Recently, BOJ Governor Haruhiko Kuroda said there is room to expand monetary stimulus by deepening negative interest rates and accelerating asset purchases. But the Wall Street Journal pointed out that 4 out of 7 BOJ officials supporting accommodative monetary policies are not sure about the effects of any additional action. The fact that the BOJ must make the decision just a few hours ahead of the FOMC results can pose pressure on the BOJ as well. This has been Choi Jin-seok for Business Daily.
Hanjin Group's pledge to inject some 100 billion won, or nearly $90 million into its alien shipping arm is still far from being realized. At an emergency board meeting held on Sunday, Korean Air, the largest shareholder of the cash-strapped Hanjin Shipping, said it failed to decide on how to secure the promised 60 billion won, or $53 million. This was the 4th meeting so far held on the matter. And whether providing the company with emergency assistance without collateral constitutes a breach of duty has delayed the board decision. Now, the board says with the possibility of holding the shipping line's Long Beach terminal as collateral no longer looking feasible, it will look for other ways. Meanwhile, the group's chairman Cho Yang-ho has already secured $35 million in personal funds. And adding to these problems, the vast global network of shipping, which transports nearly 80% of the world's goods and commodities, is facing a protracted slump. With about a quarter of the world's container ships sitting empty, overcapacity has emerged as one of the biggest underlying problems. Our Lee Ju-young has more.
Chaos surrounding Hanjin Shipping continues, but in the midst of it all, authorities have expressed hopes that this turmoil will eventually turn out for the better.
While related ministries will do all they can to deal with the situation, they will also work to strengthen the competitiveness of the domestic shipping industry.
But even if the Hanjin-spurred crisis is resolved quickly, it may just be the start of more problems that lie ahead for the troubled global shipping industry. According to analysis published by Moody's, the global cargo carrying capacity, expanding at 8.6%, outpaced growth in shipping demand last year. The outlook for this year is not bright either, with the shipping capacity set to grow by almost 4% at a time when trade is projected to edge up a mere 1 to 3%. Moody's says this comes as companies have continued to build large vessels despite low demand, resulting in overcapacity. The number of ultra-large vessels, or ships able to transport more than 18,000 TEUs, increased from 37 from 22 over the past year, while smaller vessels jumped from 51 to 70. While scrapping ships may seem like an obvious solution, companies say it's actually cheaper to let the ships float, which explains why roughly a quarter of the world's container ships are currently sitting idle. With no quick and easy fix, experts say overcapacity will likely persist for the time being, as ships sit empty, waiting to navigate across the world once again. Lee Ju-young, Business Daily.
Starting today, customers here in Korea who bought the Galaxy Note 7 will be able to get replacements for their faulty phones recalled by Samsung due to battery overheating problems. Our Kim Hae-sung has the details.
Samsung Electronics has started providing replacements for its Galaxy Note 7 smartphones in Korea. The move comes 2 weeks after the company announced a massive recall of its large-screen smartphones in 10 countries on September 2nd amid reports of its batteries exploding or catching fire while charging. Around 400,000 Note 7 smartphones have been sold in Korea, and users of the phone can get the same color replacement at Korea's three main mobile carriers, SK, LG U+, and KT, just by bringing in their device. Customers are advised to check with their service provider before bringing in their phones, as the replacements will follow a strict schedule based on the date the devices were activated. SK and KT customers can get replacements at the store where they made the purchase, and LG U+ customers can get their new devices at any store in the country. The new Galaxy Note 7 handsets show the battery charging icon in green rather than the original white to differentiate it from the old ones. Monday is also the last day for Galaxy Note 7 consumers who either want a refund or who want to cancel their service without a fee. Samsung started the recall process in Singapore on Friday and will start recalling phones in the US on Wednesday. The world's biggest smartphone maker said it will expand the recall program to other countries later this month and will start selling the Note 7 again on September 28th. But with Apple's new iPhone 7 series a hit with consumers and LG set to unveil its new V20 smartphone, it remains to be seen how Samsung will get itself through the Note 7 crisis. Kim Hae-sung, Business Daily.
Korea's green car market has seen rapid growth in the first half of the year, even surpassing Germany's. According to data from Korea Automobile Manufacturers Association, local manufacturers of environmentally friendly cars sold a combined 26,000 cars in the home market during the first 6 months of the year. Now that's up 64% from the same period last year. And German producers sold just over 25,000 vehicles in Germany, up 21% over the cited period. The large increase in sales of eco-friendly cars by Korean car makers was attributed to recently launched hybrid models like the Hyundai Ioniq and Kia Niro. Sales of the two models combined surpassed 13,000 units in the first 6 months of this year. And fuel surcharges will be kept off international flight tickets into the month of October thanks to low oil prices. Korean Air and Asiana Airlines are both set to bypass imposing a fuel surcharge for the 14th consecutive month, continuing the record streak that began back in September of last year. This as Singaporean jet fuel remained below $1.50 per gallon in the 30 days through August 15th. Meanwhile, the fuel surcharge will remain at about $1 for domestic flights, which has been in place since July. The size of Korea's underground economy is set to amount to nearly 11% of the nation's gross domestic product, much bigger than those of other OECD countries. According to a research paper by Jeonbuk National University, Korea's black market in proportion to the country's GDP from 1995 to 2014 far exceeds the G7 average, which is just over 6.6%. The figure also hovers above the 8% average of other member states. The report added that tax avoidance, which generally grows with a swelling shadow economy, made up almost 4% of the nation's GDP, also higher than other countries. It called for stronger measures against tax avoidance, as it can exacerbate disparity and drag down economic growth. Fresh analysis by the OECD shows that Korea has the highest ratio of low-paid female workers among member countries, and this is shedding more light on the need to create quality and regular positions for women, even after marriage and childbirth. Our Eunice Kim has more.
Nearly 4 in 10 female workers in Korea were found to have taken home a relatively low wage. The OECD characterized a low wage as remuneration that amounts to less than 2/3 of the country's median earnings. Analyzing data from 2014, female workers in Korea who fell under this category made up 37.8% of the pool, the largest proportion among 22 member countries. And while it's an improvement from the peak recorded in 2000, when that ratio nearly reached 46%, Korea's latest tally still falls nearly 7 percentage points above number 2, Ireland's 31%. That margin expands when compared to counterparts in the U.S., which came in just shy of 30%, and even more so when put side by side to Japan's 25%. This is shedding light on the need to not only create jobs for women who want to stay engaged in the workforce, but also address the dearth of quality jobs that are professional and stable in nature. And while it'll be a few more years to OECD's report on the 2016 picture, signs of improvement are scarce. Of Korea's 8.4 million wage earners who were female as of March this year, more than 40% held non-regular positions. Eunice Kim, Business Daily.
And that wraps it up for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow with more at the same time, same place for your Business Daily. Until then, goodbye.